Hello and welcome to another episode of the Geometrist Plays Enter the Gungeon. So, I'm gonna play as the Bullet today, and we're gonna do something a little bit different. On the last episode, we unlocked Boss Rush, and I figure no time like the present to just try that out. Let's see. Oh, okay. So it costs Gemini credits to do Boss Rush. I see. So I don't know if you unlock anything for doing Boss Rush, but I figure, it's an interesting change of pace. It's something that we've just unlocked, so, maybe you guys haven't seen it. I certainly haven't. I don't know what we're dealing with here in Boss Rush, other than, obviously, fighting all of the bosses in the game. But we'll see how the item progression works. We'll figure something out as we move along. So we got Gatling Gull as our first boss, which fortunately the Bullet makes significantly easier on account of being able to just destroy his shots with the sword Blasphemy. Which means that while this is normally one of the bosses that I have a decent amount of trouble with, I don't think this will be too hard. Unfortunately, in order to shoot, I have to lunge forward a little bit with this weapon, and so he can actually rush us down pretty quickly. We'll just go ahead and stay on top of him to get the bonus damage from the melee and the lasers and bring him down. So, looks like we do get master rounds for flawlessing bosses in this mode, and I will pick up the Huntsman because it gives us a ranged weapon, a shotgun, but also still has the ability to destroy enemy bullets, like the Blasphemy does. Now, what I think I'm going to do, actually, is stick to using Blasphemy until we get hit. I guess until we get hit 2 times, because I want to capitalize on the laser beam from the sword, and the fact that Blasphemy destroys bullets a lot more quickly than the Huntsman. You can use that ability over and over, whereas the Huntsman you have to reload, which hinders your damage output. Whereas Blasphemy, I can just keep shooting away, destroying bullets the whole time. No worries at all. So that's 2 bosses down in this boss rush. Okay, so you do not get additional master rounds for beating subsequent bosses on the same floor. That does beg an interesting question, though, which is, do you get a master round for flawlessing a boss on the floor that is not the first one that you fight on the floor? So, I don't actually think the Crestfaller is the right choice here. I was just using it to really quickly eliminate the Bullet King's Squire, I guess you'd call him, so that we don't have to worry about him rushing us down at some point later. Being able to freeze him makes it really easy to get him out of the way, because if you hit him with any other gun, he will start to rush you down. So I think the trick here with the Bullet King is really just to do this this circle strafe, so that you never let him wind up on top of you. That lets you just have enough reaction time to get around his bullets and not get hit, no matter how long you've been in the fight. If he gets on top of you, then those bullets can shoot out and catch you off guard, because he doesn't have major tells for his attacks. So we are getting, I'm noticing, shell casings, which makes me wonder if there's gonna be shops in this mode, or if that's just kind of an arbitrary thing that's happening. But in either case, we're done with the first floor. That wasn't too bad. Now, this may wind up being a shorter episode, just because the amount of content in Boss Rush is a lot less, I think, than the amount of content in a normal run. So yeah, okay. Blasphemy is able to still deal with those, but I've got to be a little bit careful here on account of not being able to roll as I swing the sword. Which means that while I'm swinging, I can't get out of the way of the laser beam. This is getting a little dodgy. I'm going to try and circle down below him during the laser beam attack. And yeah, that got me to the other side of him, which means that we're in a lot less danger now than we were. I'm still just trying to maintain this strategy of using blasphemy to cut through bullets so that I can maintain a constant offense during the fight. Never having to stop shooting is extremely valuable because, you know, anytime that you're rolling, that you're doing something other than shooting, you're losing DPS. And that's the best thing about the bullet, in my opinion, is that you never have to lose DPS to keep your offense strong. Or to keep your defense strong. I mean, you maintain a strong offense and defense at the same time. And so we've flawless the beholster, which should mean another master round, though it also means we don't get an answer to our previous question regarding whether you can get master rounds from bosses that aren't the first one on the floor. And honestly, the blooper is strong enough that I may try to use it as our boss killing weapon. Because let me tell you something, this gun can output some serious damage. Mostly on account of the fact that bosses generally aren't small enough to get out of the way of it. So like with normal enemies, you have the problem of the blooper's high knockback, causing them to get pushed out of the out of some of the shots from blooper. And with bosses, that's not as much of an issue because they're all really large. Now, I did just get saved there by the bullet's immunity to contact damage. The ammo conda definitely hit me, and that's not something that I should have let happen. But because we're playing as the bullet, I didn't get any penalty due to it. So the hexagon normally is one of my favorite weapons in the game, but for boss rush, I think it's maybe useless. One thing I am gonna do is I don't know. Yeah, okay, that's just the way that gun looks when it shoots walls. I will spend some time on this floor just checking around to see if there are secret rooms in this mode. One thing that I am seeing is that you still only get 2 blanks per floor in boss rush, regardless of the fact that there are just a ton of bosses. So, you're not going to be able to use blanks the way that you would if you had saved them throughout a floor during boss rush. Now, I did get hit there. That's the first time. I think it's maybe not such a big deal because it's not like we could have gotten a master round on this fight anyway. One thing I'm curious about is, in addition to the question about whether you can get master rounds when you're fighting a boss that's not the first one on the floor in boss rush, I'm also curious if you can get the Lead God achievement in boss rush. If you can, this may be a pretty easy way for us to unlock it. Now, admittedly, it does kind of feel cheap if we manage to unlock it that way, on account of just not having to go through the sort of tribulations that you go through on a normal run to try and succeed. So the quad laser is going to do a really, truly ridiculous amount of damage if we can hit with it. That's kind of the quad laser's deal. So if we're fighting a big stationary boss, the quad laser is probably an ideal weapon because they won't be able to move out of it. But the projectiles are, as you can see, really freaking slow. So I think the plan is to sort of switch back and forth between the quad laser and blasphemy depending on our needs. If we're in a phase where we're not having to dodge and we just need to output a bunch of damage to the boss, then we'll use the quad laser, and otherwise we'll use blasphemy. Now, admittedly, Cannon Balrog probably isn't going to give us the most opportunity in the world to use the quad laser. He's a fairly mobile boss, which means that, and he also outputs a lot of bullets, which means that the defensive utility on blasphemy is likely to be worth significantly more than the offensive abilities of the quad laser in this fight. I am a little bit concerned about our DPS not being great right now, and you know, the longer you're in the fight, the more chances you have to make mistakes and wind up taking damage. But in general here, I'm trying to just to destroy as many of the shots as I can with Blasphemy, but that, of course, didn't work out on account of him just kind of getting us in a bad situation with the way the bullets bounced there. So considering that, I'm just going to go ahead and apparently take a bunch of damage trying to stay close to him with the quad laser to make the shots actually hit. We did pick up another armor, some more ammo. I don't think... The freeze ray is another one that I think is a good room clearer that's not very good for boss rush. We may be able to get our answer regarding whether you can get master rounds outside of the first fight. So that'll be interesting, at least. You know, you gotta stay positive. Look at the upsides, even of your losses. So I'm gonna try to use the Huntsman just to give myself some more range in this fight. Or rather, some more DPS, because we do still have our health. So Blasphemy still has its range. I'm actually going to switch out. I still think that the Huntsman is not as good of a defensive weapon as Blasphemy is. And we found ourselves in a position there where we needed defense more than we needed offense. So I think what I'm going to try to do here is just put out some quad laser shots. What I may wind up doing, actually, is dropping the Crest Faller and picking it back up. And that'll change what mouse button what mouse button the quad laser is on for me. And what that'll do is it'll let me just use my mouse buttons, because I only have mouse buttons 1 through 6. I don't have like an MMO controller. That'll let me switch back and forth between Blasphemy and the quad laser a lot more easily. That was a really scary position to be in. I thought that might have been the end of our potential flawless here, because I do want to find out whether that works the way that I hope it does. Okay, we're so close. Don't botch it now. Just roll whenever you have to. Okay, so we didn't take damage in that fight. We'll get our answer. You do get a master round regardless of which boss it is that you flawless, which is that bodes well for us. That means that it's a lot easier than I had anticipated to stack up your HP. Okay, so now we're fighting the Door Lord. I don't recall if we've ever fought this guy on stream before, but basically he's a door mimic. Rather than taking the form of a chest, he takes the form of a door. We're just gonna try and stay safe if we can, and get hit immediately when I say that. So never mind. We're not safe. Nowhere is safe. But again, we had already flawless one of the bosses on this floor, so it's not like we were going to get a master round out of this anyway. Now, these attacks are they're very, like, classic bullet hell-y, which I don't personally have a problem with. I do have a problem with how tanky this guy is, because, I mean, holy crap, look at that. He does not take damage. Also, that laser comes out really, really quickly, which has the effect of just making it real hard to dodge. Now, there is a potential argument that what I should have done is saved my blanks for this guy, but I didn't know for sure if he was going to be in boss rush at all, on account of him being a sort of hidden boss in the game. And he's not like a normal boss that you'd fight. He has a really low percentage chance of showing up on a run. You know, he's not like you don't expect to get him in like 1 in 3 fights like you do with some other bosses. But we're just gonna try and stay calm and finish him off. We're almost done with the fight. We'll go ahead and use the Huntsman here to get a little more output on damage, and that'll finish him off. Whew! That was probably the hardest fight so far. We picked up the Demon Head, which is a decent boss killer. So the demon head does have the ability to light bosses on fire. We'll see how that pans out as we fight these next bosses. This really is this is intense. So I'm not convinced that this guy can be lit on fire at all. So here as well, since all the bullets kind of come from the same direction when you fight the Wallmonger, Blasphemy is going to be significantly more powerful than normal. It's going to make this a lot easier to dodge through, since you can destroy parts of the attacks that are the hardest to deal with normally. And I think the plan is to just not use a blank here. I'm reasonably confident in my abilities for this boss fight. I really should have done that thing that I mentioned with the quad laser, because this would be a good boss fight to try and use that on whenever I've got a chance. But if I can't really rapidly switch to it, I'm not comfortable trying to do those switches without mouse buttons and using, you know, control to slow time and switch weapons, because I'm afraid that I'll mess up the execution of it and just accidentally get myself hit when we are actually pretty far along in this fight now. We're doing fine so far, just no damage. Looks at this point like as long as I don't screw it up, which I didn't, that'll be a master round. So we've got 4 master rounds now, which I think means, ooh, the Deckard is pretty powerful. We'll just teleport up here to save some time. If we can flawless the dragon, then we might be able to get Lead God. Now, admittedly, I think that maybe the odds aren't necessarily in our favor for that, just on account of only being able to have 2 blanks. You can't pull any of the, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna stack up blanks throughout the game to try and make myself have a strong fight against the dragon or anything like that. I wouldn't say that it's guaranteed by any stretch, but having 4 master rounds is a pretty solid start. I also don't know if you can even unlock that in this mode. I really wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't, because that might make it too easy. You may just have to do it in a normal run. One thing I do think, though, is, like, you don't have to rely on getting good guns as the bullet. The Blasphemy, as long as you can keep your HP reasonably high, is just so powerful. But I'm finding myself hurt for DPS again. I think what I'm gonna do is, at the end of this wave, I'm gonna switch to the Deckard and do the rest of the fight with that. Why does the Deckard have 3 shots? I could have sworn this weapon had 2. I haven't picked up any passives or anything. That's really strange. The Deckard does have something in the way of defensive applications as well, just on account of it being a weapon that explodes when its bullets hit. But, alright, we're gonna try and just stay on top of things, switch back and forth so that I can use the Blasphemy for defense. I've pretty much stopped using this as an offensive weapon, though, for now. I think its DPS is not high enough to consider it as an offensive weapon in this fight. So I don't really understand that. I feel like sometimes whenever I initiate a reload on a gun and then switch away from it, it still reloads in my inventory. So this guy, oh, I was able to hit him. That's weird. I mean, I'll take it, but whatever. Cold 45. So it looks like you maybe don't get passives at all in Boss Rush. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop all of my weapons except for the Blasphemy, and then I'm going to pick them back up in a different order so that I can control what mouse button they're on entirely. So what I want is I want the Deckard on 2, the Huntsman on 3, the Quad Laser on 4, the Void Shotgun on 5, the Blooper on 6, and the rest doesn't really matter. So, yeah, this lets me switch between these weapons on the fly. So we're just going to fight the Kill Pillars now. So the Deckard has torn quite the hole in this attack. Let's go ahead and Quad Laser these guys since we're in a bit of a safe zone here. I said before I got hit. Again. Though I thought I was immune to contact damage. I'm not really sure. Did a bullet hit me there? Because I thought they landed on me. And that leaves me dazed and confused. One thing I have learned is don't kill all the Kill Pillars at the same time with explosives. It's a terrible idea. Because it winds up treating it really weirdly. And when the last one spawns, it can just hurt you and kill you, regardless of the fact that the fight is supposedly over, and that can take away your chance to get a master round. I mean, it's not a concern right now, but that's just a tip for all of you guys out there who may be fighting this boss at any point in the future, you know. We'll go ahead and finish off the weakest one here. So I am going to use Blasphemy for this, just on account of, like, I can time this and destroy all of his shots and have basically no chance of getting hit by this guy for the rest of the fight. And as far as I'm concerned, I want to save HP, I want to save ammo. So that's the Kill Pillars down. We got the Mega Hand, which honestly, I don't know how I feel about this for a boss rush kind of scenario. Because it's a really strong gun, but I tend to not really care for charge weapons as boss killers. So I think with that in mind, I'm going to go into this Dragon fight with the Deckard at first and see what I can get done with that. I wonder if this just got, like, buffed or something. So you see there, we just switch to the Blasphemy whenever we need to break a bullet. And hopefully that'll get us through this pretty easily. So the ideal thing to do there is to blank so that that guy never spawns. I missed the opportunity to do it just so. And I mean, that's on me. Crap! There goes our hopes. Because there's not another boss at this stage. I actually think it may wind up being easier to do that on, yeah, that didn't work like how I wanted it to. So I was trying to just destroy that by cutting it. I didn't know that it was still going to explode into shots as per normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to use up all the Quad Laser ammo and send these projectiles very slowly into the Dragon. I don't know if you fight the Lich on Boss Rush either. I'm going to go ahead and take out the, I guess, Mega Hand to try and deal with these guys. 3 shots is not bad for that. One thing that I cannot get used to is the fact that, like, rolling doesn't take away your charge on charge weapons, but getting hit does. It feels like if one takes it away, they both ought to. I mean, I know that from, like, the standpoint of playing the game, I ought to just learn that that's how it works, but it doesn't feel right. I'm just gonna blank that. I don't really care anymore. Because as far as I'm concerned, the Dragon fight is over just as soon as I wait on the DPS to actually add up enough. Whenever these Quad Laser shots all hit, that should change the phase. And I'm trying to decide what weapon would be good for the heart. I'm gonna start out with the blasphemy out, so that instead of having to, you know, roll through this, I can just carve a path, and, you know, that's easy peasy. I don't have to really think about what I'm doing as much when I do it this way. It lets me just kind of solidly cut through. I'm gonna take out the blooper and try that, since it's a pretty powerhouse weapon when you're up close. Well, that didn't do as much as I would have wanted it to. But yeah, we're just gonna take blasphemy, cut up the bullets. There we go. I'm trying to stick to the same paths as you would normally use, because I do think that they're a little bit safer. But in general, I guess we could just make a path wherever we wanted to make a path. On account of, you know, just if I just keep backing up, the bullets will never get to me as long as I'm cutting the ones in front of me. But we're gonna... I don't know which weapon is worth using here. I'm just gonna, I guess, try to use the Void Shotgun again and hope that this... we just barely missed it, so we have to do another round of this. And I guess after this we'll go down and find out if we have to fight the like the Blobulord, or the Old King, or the Lich. Because I'm not really sure, having never done boss rush before. This is as new to you as it is to me. I don't really know how to think of boss rush strats either. But okay, looks like the bracket key is what we got for finishing that. But yeah, we beat boss rush. Even though the map shows that you can move on, the game won't let us. So I guess that's the end of the episode. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more. And I'll see you next time.